Hey, everybody. Welcome back once again to the Retro Wrestling Review USWA podcast, coming to you from the Retro Wrestling Archive in Gadsden, Alabama. I'm your host, Gene Jackson, along with producer Smokey. Please help me in welcoming my co-hosts. First up, it's the Nightmare Nephew himself, Josh Briley of P3 Radio. Josh, how we doing, man?
Man, pretty good this morning. How about you, Mr. Gene?
I'm feeling a lot better than I did last Sunday morning. I didn't have to travel back from anywhere last night. I actually got a reasonable amount of sleep, so I'm hopefully I'll be a little more entertaining than I was last week, because I know for sure I was dragging ass last week, dude. It was a rough one. I haven't gone back and even listened to that show yet, but didn't get any complaints on it. So hopefully you guys carried the weight of the show.
Oh no, dude, you were still great, but I could tell your battery was on red, man. Your face was like a trucker after a 3-day haul or some shit, man. I felt bad.
Oh, well, here's the guy that's always up and at 'em and ready to go. It's our other co-host. He's the owner, founder, and president of STSpod.club, and he's Jonesboro, Arkansas's favorite resident. Spoiler alert. It's Brian Tramel. What's up, BT?
Jonesboro. What's up, guys? Brother Gene, Brother Josh. Get Buck. I really need to get that going here in 2025, y'all. So let's get them T-shirts out there and get Buck. And I'm
even with sleep, it's too early for that, man.
I'm sponsored by Acid Wash Jeans. Thank you, King. You reminded me I wore Acid Wash Jeans also. Acid Wash Jeans.
I was going to say.
How's it going, guys?
It's good, awesome, man. Before we get started, I just want to say right here at the tip top of the program, last week we were able to get the show that we reviewed up and on YouTube and watched. Thanks to our man Josh. He pulled that one off for us. Well, this week we got a show courtesy of a friend of BT's, and I want BT to put him over for a minute and kind of tell him a little bit about where that collection comes from and how we may be seeing some more of it as we move along through this season.
It's kind of fun. Me and this guy, Rick Davies, started trading tapes. Or I started trading him Memphis for I think I'd say WTVS. I got the Georgia show from him and would send him to Memphis. And this is before I got another VCR. So I would tape 2 or 3 shows and send him the legit stuff when we first got started. Now, later on, I sent it to him. But it was always the 90-minute show. We talked about a little bit about it last week. But I've been knowing this guy since... God, I got a VCR in 86 or 87. We've been knowing each other since then. I have never met him. We were pen pals, tape traders, all kinds of stuff. Never met this guy, but I got a weird story. So I got a friend that was in Puerto Rico, and Rick was on vacation in Puerto Rico at the same time, and she was talking real loud at a bar, maybe she'd been drinking. I don't know. But she had that country wing that I got, and he went up to her and he said, "Hey, you sound like my friend Brian." And she goes, "Where's your friend from?" "Well, Jonesboro, Arkansas." And this girl has been my friend for years, was in Puerto Rico and met my friend from Bay City, Michigan.
Crazy,
and me and him,
dude.
yeah, just so crazy. Me and her lived next to each other when we lived in Jonesboro when I was in college. And she was one of the people that worked the gimmicks table for the coffees and always got me into wrestling. But it was so funny that she was vacationing there and him at the same time. So, small world.
What are the fucking odds of that? That's wild. But yeah, Rick Davies, you're the man. Thank you. And we are going to be filling in some holes and some missing episodes, and we're going to be replacing some short episodes with the actual Memphis version. So as we move along through 1991, it will be a little smoother than the end of 1993 was when we hit the skids towards the end and had nothing with the freaking Evansville and what was it? Evansville, and there was one other town we had. But anyway, They were all chopped up, and it made the show a little less. I don't know. I won't say less fun, but it was just a little awkward at times because we were having to talk about match results from things that didn't get set up on the TV we saw. So that shouldn't be a problem here at 91. And today's an interesting show. We're going to be talking about the March 2nd, 1991 episode of the USWA Championship Wrestling show. And this is Retro Wrestling Review episode number 69.
All right,
we're
going to get bud. Oh, wait.
So,
that's not this season.
So the show opens up with Dave and Michael St. John. So Michael St. John seems to be he's gonna stick around now. We thought maybe he was just there for a one-off or something, but he's been here for a few weeks, and they tell us that there has been a round-robin tournament signed to find a number one contender or opponent for world champion Terry Funk, who's going to be coming in next week. The Southern Heavyweight title has been held up, so that usually would be the person who would get the title shot, so they say. And so we announced the participants in this 4-man round-robin tournament. It's going to be Jerry the King Lawler, Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert, Stunning Steve Austin, and Jeff Jarrett, which sounds fun. Sounds like it could be an interesting little 4-man round-robin tournament. But, of course, you probably noticed some names missing there. They certainly noticed their names were missing. So out comes Eric Embry and Tom Prichard to protest. They are none too happy about this announcement. They're not happy about being excluded from the tournament. Embry cuts a scathing promo claiming that none of the participants in the tournament are worthy, and he wants to know what the hell's going on. And so before we pick up with much more of what was said by them and what happened here, I want us to take a look at this clip. Last week, we had the big match. We spent pretty much the whole show last week setting up this crazy tag match where Eric Embry and Tom Prichard were going to be taking on the unlikely tag team of Jerry Lawler and Eddie Gilbert. Well, let's go back to last week and see how that match turned out before we move forward with this week's show.
Lawler, the show with Tennessee is a losing state. But Tom Prichard in on Lawler, firing away. Lawler said, wait a minute, I've had enough of it. Pulls the strap down, fires away on Prichard.
Lawler definitely getting the best of him. Lawler over for the tag, and here comes Hot Stuff with a couple of low blow kicks. The fist flying. Eddie Gilbert threw the rule book out the window before he even got here tonight. And now it's Hot Stuff and the King working over the boys from Texas. Gilbert fires Embry into the ropes. Big fist levels him. Prichard rolls outside the ring. Lawler in pursuit. Gilbert continuing to work on the flamboyant one. Reverses him into the ropes. Gilbert kicks Embry right into referee Frank Morrell. Morrell is down. Gilbert shoots Embry into the ropes. Catches a big Texas boot. And now Embry going into his tights. Gilbert going into his tights. Embry has a chain wrapping it around his fist. I don't know what Eddie's got. Embry turns around with the chain. Gilbert catches him. Gilbert's got some brass knucks. And he knocks Embry out.
There's Gilbert with the pain cover. Frank Morrell unconscious over on the ring apron. Gilbert had Embry covered after using those knocks on him. The chain that Embry had went flying up into the crowd. Lawler still on Prichard. Look out! Tojo Yamamoto coming out of the back sends a piece of metal pipe in there to Eric Embry. As Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert's trying to get the referee up. Embry with the metal pipe just decks Gilbert. 1, 2, 3. That's gonna be it.
Well, look who's back. Tojo Yamamoto is back, and he is sided with the Texans. What do you guys think of this ending to this matchup here?
Oh my God. I was watching it at home, and I had never seen, or I've never saw the show before. Like, my granny didn't tape it. I didn't watch it that Saturday morning. So This was all new to me, man. It was like I was so into it, and the finish was multi-leveled, but it was executed so good. And I loved Tojo sneaking out there dressed in black, and it looked like he handed him a knife at that. I thought, let's go stab this son of a bitch, but no, he knew it was a piece of pipe. But yeah, it all unfolded, and that dude, it was so symbolic to see Eric Embry on one side, Eddie Gilbert on the other. They're both down and they're both going for a foreign object. That was good shit, man. I love that image. But yeah, answer your question. I loved it.
But I did too. I mean, like I've said before, I love Lawler and Gilbert both at the time, and Embry makes such a great heel. I was surprised to see Tojo, and what the hell? Where did he come from? But was he working world class at the time? Or USWA World Texas?
I think he was already in, because I know he did a lot of stuff in Dallas. I think he already was working down on the Dallas end at this point. So, they just brought him up to join in on this angle. I love, like, we've done a good job telling the story that Eddie Gilbert's not a good guy. He is the same Eddie Gilbert. He just happens to be from Tennessee and just happens to have an issue with these guys from Texas. So the fact that, I don't know if I've ever seen this done before, he gets tagged in, and as he comes in, he meets each of them with a kick in the nuts. It's the first thing he does. And then he, like you said, the perfect visual of he and Eric Embry on their knees on opposite sides, reaching in their tights, each pulling something out, Eddie beating him to the punch. But the referee's down. Here comes Tojo. And this is what I like about Memphis. They was always really good at, usually, is upping the ante each week, where you don't really, nobody could have predicted that Tojo was going to show up and help them win this match, and he, I don't know, he fits. I mean, pretty soon we're going to have Tojo coming out wearing a cowboy hat with a Texas flag, which is just my favorite. Like, I could never see that and not laugh and think that's just the greatest shit in the world. Because he always carried that Japanese flag for years, and now he's got a Texas flag, and Tojo with a cowboy hat is just hilarious anyway. You can't beat that.
It's all that time in Dallas, man. He became a Texan.
That's right. There you go.
He's become an unofficial Texan, but so these guys won't put into the tournament. Dave eventually tells them, look, if you got a problem with who's in the tournament, take it up with Eddie Marlin, not the announcers, dude, basically. And so they eventually leave. They're not happy, but they do go away. And then we're ready to get on with our first scheduled match of the day, which is going to be Jeff Jarrett versus the Scorpion. And right as this match is getting ready to kick off, Eric Embry and Tom Prichard hit the ring. They beat and bloody Jeff Jarrett with a steel chair. Eventually, Jerry Lawler and Eddie Gilbert come out, make the save, running off the Texans. But Jeff is hot. He is not happy. He's fired up. He's bleeding. He gets on the mic and cuts a hell of a promo, especially for Jeff in this era, early on in his promo days. And he says, the world title means nothing if every time we get in the ring, we're left laying by those Texas punks. And he proceeds to pull out of the tournament, of the four-way tournament, challenges Embry and Prichard to a grudge tag team match, and asks, if he pulls out, can he have a tag match? And they say yes, but he's got to get somebody to be his partner. So he brings Lawler and Gilbert out and asks if one of them will pull out of the tournament to be his partner. Well, Lawler declines, saying it's his lifelong dream to regain the world title, and he's got to keep his title match. Gilbert refuses. So if Lawler's staying in, then he's staying in. So Jarrett finally, after a little bit of arguing back and forth and shouting, I was like, basically just like, well, fuck the both of you. I'll find another partner. And he storms off. So we're doing a good job of keeping Eddie Gilbert at odds with the two baby faces. But now, with Lawler showing a little bit of, more concern about winning the world title than helping his buddy Jeff Jarrett get revenge, now we're putting a little bit of issues between Jeff and Lawler. So it's interesting, and I don't know how you guys feel, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about this in depth when we get to the end of the show as everything unfolds. But, the big thing we talked about throughout 93, that there was so many points in time where it felt like nobody was really thinking much about this stuff, that we were just getting there on Saturday morning, just throwing stuff together. I know Richard felt very strongly about that. Feels like to me there is a lot of thought being put into this booking, and I know Eddie was booking and then he left. Now he's back, and so as far as I know, Eric Embry's booking this. And there's a lot of people who are critical of Eric Embry's booking, but there's a lot of people who are critical of Lawler, Jarrett's, Embry, or Gilbert's. Everybody's booking. But for what we've seen so far, how are you guys feeling about it? Does it make you excited for what's to come? And do you think that they're definitely doing a lot more booking-wise than they were in 93?
Absolutely. I think Eric Embry is the common denominator of what we're seeing right now, because you could tell before Eric shows up here in Memphis, and from my understanding, that's when it happens. Because the show had a certain feel, and now it's going in this Texas versus Tennessee direction, and Jamie versus Bill. It's like we're focusing on two main stories, along with we got this world champion out in the world, supposedly, defending his title everywhere, here, there, and yonder, and he's coming back to Memphis. So you've got three things going on. But like I said, you can notice a change when Eric gets there, and it's way better, in my opinion, now than it was, when we first started. But, with that being said, you said people are critical of Eric Embry at times in his booking, but right now it's absolutely great.
I agree. You got to do something. Every booker takes over, does some different. They've got to show that the heels can win at this point when we start the feud out, and the heels can go over on the baby faces and leave them almost every Monday night. So that's the kind of stuff. I also made note, what the fuck? What was Jarrett wearing? What was that? That was like the worst tights and trunks I've seen. But that crowd was, man, they were so hot for Jarrett when that match first started. And then they were when they were beating the hell out of him. The crowd was so into all of this. Jeff did a fantastic job. I love the blood. And then the two heels, Lawler and Gilbert, are all about themselves. They're not about, they don't care really about Jeff Jarrett. So I love it that that you said that, Gene, because it really feels like Lawler's about himself, Gilbert's about himself. That's all they're about. So, and the world title. And he was wearing those acid wash jeans too. Lawler was.
That's true.
Yep.
And yeah, like you say, it adds another layer of doubt in the fans' minds, because they're like, well, these Texas guys are pretty tough, and they're all on the same page, but Lawler, Gilbert, and Jarrett, they can't agree on anything here. How in the world are they ever going to do anything to these guys if they can't get it together? So it's going to be interesting to watch it play out. But when we come back from the break, it's another match. Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert taking on TD Steele. And, well, let's take a look at what happens when this match starts.
Got a match involving a veteran expertise of Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert against a young, outstanding newcomer in Steve. Uh-oh.
Oh, no.
Here's Prichard and Embry again. They're going after both men. It looks like they're turning their attention to Eddie Gilbert. They're going to get rid of TD Steele and going right after Eddie Gilbert. Tojo Yamamoto choreographing the whole thing from the sidelines.
This is ridiculous. We have a match going underway. Looks like it's going to be a good one. And they come out here and they jump Eddie Gilbert. They're unhappy. They're not in the tournament for the Southern Heavyweight title. Gilbert, now they got Eddie cut open.
They rammed him into that pole, Dave, and Eddie's been lacerated. They're working him over. There's the metal chair again on Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert. In the ring, there goes Eric Embry and Dr. Tom Prichard, and they're just pounding away at Eddie Gilbert.
Both of them working on him. Tojo, you see, leading the chair. There goes TD Steele. He's had enough. He's getting out of here. He doesn't want to get involved in it either way, I guess. Scott Bowden, the referee, trying to get back to his feet. He's had a tough day, too, being hammered by these Texans. Tom Prichard, Dr. Tom, and a flamboyant one, Eric Embry, doubling up on Eddie Gilbert now. Scott Bowden trying to get him out of there, but
Oh, look at that. Showing no mercy, going right after Gilbert. He's injured in the ring, obviously having a difficult time gathering his senses.
wait, what do you guys do?
Me, it's up to you. One of the two. He doesn't want to do either one. You won't do either one. I'm telling you right now, you won't, because I will. Okay? I'm saying I'll pull myself out of the tournament to be Jeff Jarrett's partner against the Texas boys, as they want to be called. Okay? You want a partner?
That's right.
You got a partner, okay? One little word here. Prichard, Embry, and get that little stooge, Gopher Tojo, right up with you now. You sign your death warrant, baby. Yeah, will you do that? Will you do that? Well, all right, let me get something straight. You know, they're out here running their mouth about how they beat me and you. Well, I watched that film, and Tojo was the one that caused, first of all, let's get this straight, too. Not me to lose, but you to lose. Big deal. Well, yeah, big deal. It is a big
I don't
deal.
care. They didn't beat me,
I
they
don't
beat you.
care. But Tojo was the one that did it. So if you want me to sit, I'll tell you what I'll do. No, I will not sit in his corner, but Jeff, I'll sit in your corner, and I'll make sure that Tojo does nothing to interfere as far as you're concerned. As far as you're concerned, you're on your own, pal. Thank you.
Okay, let's go.
First thing I wonder, do you think somebody told Eddie Gilbert, hey, Jeff didn't get a whole lot of blood. Can you get a little more blood? Or do you think that was probably just Eddie of his own accord? Wow, he bled a lot. The biggest thing that was in my head watching this, and I clipped some of it out because it was so long, but it's like Jeff Jarrett was just out here desperate to get his hands on the Texans, however he could, and then 5 minutes later, they're beating the shit out of Eddie Gilbert, and it takes him at least 6 minutes to finally come out there and make the save along with Lawler. It's like, well, how bad you really want him, Jeff? Here's your opportunity, and you just let poor Eddie get beat.
I'm sorry, Gene. I'm a spoiler. So he was back there talking to Bill Dundee. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have spoiled it, but that's what was happening.
There you go. There you go. But at least they did. Again, that's showing a little more thought in the booking where we find a way to explain that rather than just sitting around wondering, oh, well, why did it take so long? So that's good. But again, we're at odds here. Jarrett needs a partner. Eddie says, fine, these guys attacked me. Fuck it. I'll pull out of the damn tournament. I'll be your partner. And, of course, Jerry's like, well, I'm still going to be in the tournament, but can I be in the tournament and be in Jeff's corner? I'm not in Eddie's corner, even though it's the same corner, but I'm only doing it for Jeff and not for Eddie. So, we're really doubling down on the issues between Gilbert and the two baby faces, which great promo from everybody here. We didn't see much of Lawler's, but he had a good promo. Of course, Eddie did. He was fired up, and we believe that he's so mad he's given up. He's going to forego his championship opportunity to team with Jeff to get revenge on these lousy Texans here.
Deadburn Texas boys. You know? I like it though. I mean, it's like they're keeping it in the reserve tank. You know, whenever because surely they must be thinking like this is only going to go so far as Prichard and Embry, and whenever they get done or it gets like, you know, a little cooled down, they still got to have it for Eddie and Lawler because, you know, is Terry Funk going to stay the champ forever? I doubt it. He hasn't showed up, you know, he hasn't been at the studio or at the arena at all this year, right?
No, he hasn't been. He hasn't been there since he won the title. Haven't heard nothing from him as of now. So, yeah, and like you pointed out last week, you know, after these guys hit Lawler with a car, you know, just a few months ago, how the fans supposed to believe that they would suddenly become friends just because they both hate these guys from Texas, right? So I'm glad we're really making sure we keep all that intact. It helps on a number of different levels.
Because a lot of times if you know, watch WWE, like it's like they get amnesia, and that used to piss me off as a kid. So I like that they're keeping that pot brewing, man. but trying for the greater good of Tennessee, you know,
Yes.
and keeping chaos down to keep it pushing forward.
I thought the funniest thing about all this was that TD still walked away.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah,
like
he walks right in front of the camera like,
fuck this shit.
But Eddie's a bad guy.
I know.
and he made that clear because when the bell rang on that match, he didn't lock up. He ran right over, punched TD in the face, and immediately started attacking him like a heel, and then he was attacked. But again, everything's consistent. There's no holes in this so far. So I I really like that. One inconsistency right here, they went through the card for the Mid-South Coliseum. And as always, we're going to save that to the end of the show. But there was one funny thing as they advertised Dave Gilbert taking on JoJo Jackson. Dave Brown quickly corrected that, but I just thought that was pretty funny.
He said, unless it's another Gilbert brother, I don't know
that's
about.
what he said. Yeah, it was a good joke.
Yeah, for Dave, that was pretty quick thinking there. So after that, we find out that now there's a new main event. Like I say, we won't go through the whole card, but just to make everything else here kind of make sense, in light of everything that's just transpired, they have changed it to, we went from a round robin tournament to now it's just Jerry Lawler versus Steve Austin. Winner gets a shot next week at Terry Funk. And then we got our grudge tag team match that we just set up. And so we'll talk a little bit more about that later on, about some thoughts on that. But next up, we find out that the Mexican light heavyweight champion is coming to town to challenge the world light heavyweight champion, Nightmare Danny Davis. Let's hear a little bit from both of these guys about this big match we got coming up Monday night.
I come from Mexico with a mission to destroy Danny Davis, porque él ha estado engañando a mi patria. I want you to know, Mr. Danny Davis, that I come here with a mission to destroy you and take the light heavyweight champion belt to my people in Mexico. And I want to show you that what I'm saying, I'm the best pistolero in Mexico. And I want to show you.
El Grande Pistolero coming in looking for that belt.
Well, you know, it seems to me that El Grande Pistolero is mighty proud of his country. Well, that's good, because Danny Davis is proud of his country. You may come from Mexico, but I come from the good old USA. You want to come in here and challenge me for my world light heavyweight title? Well, just be my guest. I'm not a closet champion. You just ask Cody Michaels. He's a good friend of mine. But just this past week, I wrestled him, and I wrestled him because he come from my belt. Well, I want to tell you something, El Grande Pistolero. In that video, you look like a mighty tough man, but you were packing a gun. Well, let me tell you something. You better pack more than a gun when you come step in the ring with me, because you're going to need it. I'll wrestle you up in the seats if I have to, or down under the ring, because I am a people's champion, and every time I step in the ring, all these good friends are behind me. I don't back down from nobody, and I'm certainly not going to back down from you, El Grande Pistolero.
Danny Davis,
right.
he has the world belt.
Right.
You better have more than a gun when you get in that ring with me.
Right. That's right. Well, Uncle Danny got to have more than a gun.
Right there.
Jesus Christ.
What's the next step? That's what I keep thinking. What is the next step?
You better have a bazooka or a tank or something. A gun ain't shit to Uncle Danny. Now, this isn't one of his better star drawing days, I would say. Richard would definitely point that out, so I figured I'd better since he's not.
I actually thought it had really good color. It didn't. It wasn't.
The color looks good. Just the shape is a little off. Covers half his face. It's like
he did it in the Camaro on the way to the show. He was late.
Yeah, you always see those ladies at the stoplight doing their makeup. That was him. About 4 different stoplights in Memphis. He got that done there. Came straight in from the car, straight into that promo.
He still got his Bugle Boy shirt on. Like,
yeah,
he don't have no Zubaz or workout shit or satin jacket. It's like he came in from a family dinner.
Now, what do we think of El Grande Pistolero here?
I think his Pistolero needed some WD-40. He got all hung up when he was trying to shoot. But other than that, it's pretty menacing. It's he has that way about him talking. It's like, I don't know what's coming up because I didn't know who this guy was at all. And come to find out, I did know who it was. It's just he was under a mask, but like I didn't know that till later on. But yeah, good things coming.
Yeah. So El Grande Pistolero, for those who don't know, that's Gypsy Joe, pushing a little over 60 years old here, which is, I think, maybe is why they probably stuck him under a mask.
That's what I was thinking also.
He looked every bit of it. But I don't know, the promo was fun. Mr. Donnie Davis, take your world champion belt. It was a lot longer promo. I cut it down to just about 20 seconds, but he had a lot more to say. But to me, the high spot is when he starts firing off the guns and cackling at the end of it is what really sold me on it. I don't know about y'all.
Oh, I loved it. Well,
the part that sold it on me was when Danny was like, "You got to bring more than a gun," like we already said. I was like, "What? Huh?" And I liked what he said too. He pretty much said, "Look, I whipped Cody Michaels' ass. I don't.
And he's my friend, but I still whip his ass. So what do you think I'm gonna do to you?" The foreign invader from Mexico. I love how any chance that Uncle Danny gets, he gets on that American thing. You love your country? Well, I love my country. Like, he's going to be talking about Patriot missiles any minute now.
I never saw a red, white, and blue star combo like to push that. I never saw that. You figure maybe that was too entailed. Like he could barely get the two color going.
Yeah. With the American Eagles too much, might give too much away there or something. But yeah, I can tell you, I distinctly remember seeing Danny Davis versus El Grande Pistolero on ESPN on the Dallas USWA.
Oh wow,
a lot. Like they wrestled a lot of times on ESPN. So I may try to find a couple of those matches and throw them up on the Facebook page this week if I can find any. I'm sure I've got a couple. So yeah, that'll be a fun match that's coming up Monday night. And then we go to something we haven't seen before. This might have been something they had done in the past. I don't know, but they called it USWA Insight. And this is Michael St. John doing a feature on JC Ice Baby, where he's not only interviewing him, not in the studio. This is a pre-recorded, segment. And here they are, wherever this is here. And he's going through, he's talking to Jamie, and they're talking about each step of the way of his turn, and they show clips of it, and we see, footages of him, fucking up as a referee and getting fired by Eddie Marlin and insulting his father and getting whipped with a belt. We get all the high spots that we've been seeing each week. So we do a good job of recapping it here. And, of course, at the end, he doubles down on insulting Bill and calling him a coward and it's really laying it in. He says one line at the end that the wording of it didn't come out right, where he says, "I'm not too dumb to," I forget what the line was, but where he should have said, "I'm too smart for that." He goes, "I'm not too dumb for so-and-so." And then when Michael St. John takes the mic away, you see it clicks in Jamie's head what he just said, and he's just kind of like, he's not happy with what he said. He realized it didn't make sense, but it's too late now. And Michael St. John was nice enough not to call him out on it. So we just move on past that. So, of course, on the other side of that, we got to hear what Bill Dundee has to say. So Bill comes out, and as Brian pointed out, before he gets down to talking about Jamie, he points out that him and Jeff were back there discussing the possibility of him being Jeff's partner. He's got all this, unfinished business with Jamie and his crew. And we'll talk a little bit later about what Jamie's calling his crew. We'll let that build for just a little bit because, Jesus Christ, it's something. But anyway, as Bill's standing there, and I'm looking at this glorious mullet he's got right now, we missed a real good opportunity if Jamie would have just took some white paint and went right down the middle of his head. He would have made Bill look like he had a skunk right on top of his head.
Dude, he and Ricky Morton sat side by, or one of them was in the waiting seat because that is the same haircut for this time period.
I mean, that is a textbook mullet right there. I mean,
One of them got a dye job and one of them got peroxide. So there you go. That's exactly right. So yeah, love that hair.
But, Bill comes out there. He's talking about all the things his son has done to betray him. He says that wasn't the way Jamie was raised. And he says that the dirty white boy and his cronies have brainwashed Jamie. And that's why he's saying and doing all these things. And he said that Jamie will soon find out that his only real friends are him and his mom, which would be pretty insulting if you said that to your kid, even if they weren't in the middle of a heel turn, just that, the only friends you got in the world is me and your mom, so I don't think that's going to make him feel any better about any of this,
That was Bill's way of, don't trust any motherfucker.
Yeah.
DTA, you little bastard. Yeah. So then we get a match between Bill Dundee and what we've established was one of Brian's favorite enhancement guys, Mr. Keith Eric. Bill Dundee actually, so keep in mind, folks, every match that's took place on this show so far stopped due to outside interference from the Texans. We haven't had a match go 5 seconds into the match. Well, Dundee manages to wrestle Keith Eric. He manages to get a sunset flip and get the win before Jeff Gaylord rolls in and attacks, and he reveals that he is now aligned with JC Ice Baby. And eventually, Cody Michaels, JoJo Jackson, and the mailman, Curtis Thompson, run in to make the save while JC Ice is running his mouth at ringside. And we'll talk about it in the next promo. I guess we're going to get to it here because after this, we just do the live announcements where they're going to be: Forest City, Ripley, Mississippi, Jonesboro, Oxford. And then Lawler comes out.
Jonesboro. Hey, real quick, Eric's knee pads. Have y'all noticed that? He has them around his bottom of his leg, not his knee. What's up with that?
Maybe he
I'm
thinks
serious. Unless he forgot, he might have forgot. So next week or next time he works, I've got to look and see. But yeah.
Well, can we not put over he got some shit in?
Yes,
he got some
did.
offense in and was healing on Bill. I thought that was pretty cool. That the heel set a couple of weeks ago, he ran out. He just showed up with the heel guys, saving, or getting into it or attacking somebody. And they never really explained, it was just one day he was like a good guy, seemed like, and then he was with them. Well, this kind of was the first reinforcement on, hey, I'm a bad guy. I'm being low down with Bill and stuff. But I thought it was cool that they let him,
Me too. And I mean, a sunset flip, that's one of those moves where it comes out of nowhere and you get pinned 1, 2, 3. So yeah, that kind of made him look good.
Memphis is weird like that. And we kind of talked about this recently with Freezer Thompson, where guys might go from just being just constantly just squash to all of a sudden they're getting in offense and they're kind of using them, maybe even throw them on a Monday night card every now and again. The Scorpion has fell into this. I mean, he was just a straight up jobber, but here this week, and spoiler, another week or so ahead, he's just kind of fell in with the heels and he's kind of getting somewhat used, more than just a job guy. So they're interesting in that way. But Lawler comes out at the end of Dave putting over where they're coming and brings out a couple of Ole Miss football coaches to promote a show in Oxford, Mississippi. And again,
they're
this
like
is just one of those
10
Ole
times
and
bigger
things.
than any wrestler. That's what gets me. I wish Jeff Gaylord was out there, but I think these two guys might have been the two biggest guys on the show. Man, they were big guys.
And they were coaches too, dude.
Yeah,
when they walked out there in that look, I immediately felt like I owed them 10 push-ups. Like, seriously. And he let them do a promo. And goddamn, they were fucking good to just be some regular guys.
Yeah.
The one guy with the line about best doctor recommended medicine right here. I was like, man, I believed him. I was like, dude, probably would knock the shit out of somebody. He was wired as Sid Vicious.
It's like, why is Jeff not asking these guys to be his partner instead?
Right. Little bitty Eddie Gilbert compared to these guys. Jesus.
Yeah. I thought that was pretty fun. I started to clip it, but I was like, nah, we won't do that. But again, this episode is on YouTube, and it's new to YouTube. Most everybody haven't, just like the one last week. This is an episode that hasn't been in the rotation. It hasn't been in people's collections. So most folks haven't seen it, and it's getting a lot of views on the Retro Wrestling Archive YouTube channel. So if you hadn't seen it, go check it out. It's a really good episode, as we've discussed so far.
And you say, if you see the time thing and you see it's only 1 hour, it's still the 90-minute show. Gene was nice enough to take all the commercials out.
Yeah.
So that is the 90-minute show. So fun thing. I'm still surprised that those two shows were, and there was that show that Josh has out of my collection, but this one was in my collection. But it's weird how those tapes got around everywhere. So,
and it's weird how certain ones didn't make it out to everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
I guess I wasn't home. I wasn't home, or the VCR didn't go off like it was supposed to.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I noticed the what is it, 420 isn't there still?
It's going to be there by the end of the day today. Last night I pulled it off the DVD and took out the commercials and all that shit, so it'll be up later today.
I was going to say I actually have that specific date written down. I have 45 minutes of it. But it sounds like you got it all buttoned up.
Yeah, we should be set on that one.
Sweet.
So before the next match, Uptown Bruno's out there, and he says that Doug Gilbert's at the gym. He's not there with him, but they're going to have the Scorpion teaming up with Jeff Gaylord and Steve Austin. And then JC Ice Baby announces that Jeff Gaylord has officially joined his group, the Ice Machines. And will no longer be with Uptown Bruno. I had to rewind that. I'm like, what did he just say? Rewind back. He's been joined the Ice Machines, baby. I'm like, surely this is not going to be the official name.
Y'all can do the Jamie on this, but when he said that, all I could think of was he was in some crack motel somewhere, and he comes out and he goes, I gotta go get me some ice, and then he goes, Ice Machines. That's what I'm gonna call them.
Earlier in the show, Michael St. John referred to him as the Ice Brigade, which I thought was pretty shitty, but I thought, I'll take Ice Brigade over the Ice Machines. It's ironic that Stone Cold Steve Austin was once a part of the Ice Machines. That's a little fun part of his history most people don't realize. But so after he tells Bruno this, we get a very uncharacteristic response from Bruno. There's Jeff telling him, yeah, I'm joining the Ice Machines. And Bruno's just like, well, okay. And he just walks away.
This is Embry writing him out of the script,
this is what
right?
we're talking about right here.
That's what I was going to ask. Like, that had to be the direct result of that conversation you had mentioned before.
Yeah. He's going to stick around briefly to have a couple of matches with Jamie and whatnot. But yeah, for the most part, he's on his way out, according to Embry. But as we talked about, he's going to end up being a referee so that Lawler can keep him a job around there. So kudos to Lawler.
Good referee, too.
So we've got the expiration of time 6-man tag match. Steve Austin, Jeff Gaylord, and the Scorpion, a.k.a. the Ice Machines, apparently, taking on U.S. male Curtis Thompson. No Chris Walker this week. It's Cody Michaels and JoJo Jackson, who will soon be swapping that name for Night Train Jackson, which I think is probably a good call. Cody Michaels, I want to say, reading the Observer this week to see what was in there. And I know, Brian, me and you have talked about this off the air in the past, and I think you told me you may have a clip of it or something. This is going to be the weekend before Cody Michaels goes back to Dallas and gets injured in a match with John Tatum and essentially breaks his neck. Or maybe you had mentioned it, Josh, that you had a clip of it.
I sent it to you.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I knew somebody sent it to me and I'd seen it. I just couldn't remember.
I recorded it off of my TV, just like the video on my phone. But yeah, I was just looking at some tapes, and I didn't record the whole show, but I guess my uncle told either my granny or told me like what match it was. Probably told my granny, just watch it this day, and he breaks his neck. And for whatever reason, I recorded it, and man, you can't really see every bit of it, but you can see where he goes over and then bam, his head just essentially pile driven onto Michael St. John was there on his table.
Damn.
Well,
you hate it.
I think I could get Cody to come on the podcast and talk about that. I think I can. I'll have to reach out. So
yeah,
there we go.
Sweet.
So first fall, JC Ice trips Curtis Thompson, allowing Steve Austin to get a pin. That's the first fall. Then we try to quickly get a second fall started, but the TV time limit runs out. Although Curtis Thompson's not used to this weird Memphis time limit thing, he keeps going after the bell rings, and Bowden's trying to wave him off. He goes ahead, he hits the power slam on the Scorpion. He's got him hooked deep, so you know he thinks he's getting the pin right here. But the bell has already rang, so Bowden's like, no, it's over. And he's looking like, what the fuck, as we cut to break. So, yeah, you're in Memphis now, Curtis. We'll just stop right in the middle of the fall if the time limit expires. So.
Truly, hopefully he wouldn't like, but you said I could win.
We were supposed to win the second fall.
That was the option, Josh. I was thinking when he walked through the curtain, if I was back there booking, I'd say, what the fuck were you doing? You knew you were supposed to go to the finish real quick. You lost because of the bell rung. I would be getting mad at him because he fucked up. Because, I mean, that was the finish. You know that was.
Oh, yeah, clearly it was. They just didn't get there, and Dave jumped the gun and rang the bell. That's what, I mean, I think that's really the real issue is Dave rang the bell too soon. And once he did that, Bowden couldn't count the three, even though it was obvious. I mean, because he was long enough, we could have hit that spot, got the 3 count, and got out to this commercial break. But Dave was overzealous. But at least Bowden had the wherewithal not to go ahead and count after the bell had already been rung.
Right,
so
right.
I thought that was impressive, as green as he was at the time, that he at least knew to do that. So right now, let's take a podcast commercial break, and when we come back, we'll find out the card for Monday night, and then we'll see what you guys thought about this episode.
Hey guys, Ray Russell here. Lots of new stuff happening here at WrestleCopia. If you haven't checked out our website at WrestleCopia.com, it's a great way to keep up with the latest episodes of all of your favorite Copia programming, from the Wrestling Memory Grenade to Regional Wrestling with the Territory Talk, the Wrestling Stoop with the legendary Bob Roop, and of course all of those programs also available at your favorite podcast streaming platforms. And if you want to stay up to date with everything going on in the Copia world, all the latest news, random thoughts, fun videos, pictures, and more, make sure to join the more than 33,000 followers over at Facebook.com/Wrestling Grenade. Don't be left out. And last but definitely not least, it's what keeps the entire machine going. I'm talking about Patreon.com/WrestleCopia. We appreciate your support in helping us pay the bills to keep the WrestleCopia Podcast Network running and enabling us to continue to bring you all the quality programming that we offer.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling, the podcast that's based on the old school but can still help you find the good stuff from today. Jimmy Street and the Plastic Sheik, Jarrett, are the undisputed tag team champions of the wrestling podcast world. From thought-provoking topics to superstar interviews to action figure expertise. This team does it all, and all they ask is, give me back my pro wrestling! Every other Thursday, wherever you listen to podcasts.
Hey, it's Bob Smith, and guess what? The Outdated Wrestling Hour is now part of the WrestleCopia Podcast Network. But hey, no fear, you're still going to hear the unique guests, comedy, music, authors, journalists, funny people. Who knows who's going to end up on the Outdated Wrestling Hour? Remember, it's all new and all old. So check it out in the WrestleCopia Podcast Network and wherever you get your podcasts. Listen if you know what's good for you.
The same boring wrestling podcast. Need something with attitude, chaos, and maybe just a little cussing. That's stspod.club, and we got it all covered. We got wrestling weirdness with WTF News Desk, 5-minute time limit, and the Southern fried brain of me, BT, during the whole ship. We also have rolling into Memphis every week about the current Memphis wrestling. Interviews, hot takes, and wrestling outrageousness so wild it might get you banned in 12 states. That's right, it's SDSpod.club, or search all podcast catchers for Shooting the Shiznit, where wrestling podcasts grow chest hair. Not sure what that meant. Love my mama. I want to put you over real quick, Gene. I had said that you took all the commercials out, but there was at the very end there was a commercial break you forgot. But let me say, thank you. I got to see a commercial for the Snowbird Report. Thank you.
I realized that when I was watching. I was like, well, shit, I missed one. BT will point it out. It's fun. But, some people like the commercial, and I like the commercials on some shows, but the Memphis commercials are so goddamn repetitive is why
That's
I went ahead and put them out. It's just the same shit over and over and over.
Same sponsors. Yep.
All right, let's take a look at what all this was leading to for Monday night.
Describe the action that's coming up. This is the revised card, so they got it ready to go. Regular prices, no increase in price, even though you got all these big matches. 7:30 is when it all begins. The opening match of the night, no change here, I don't believe. That should be Doug Gilbert, I believe, not Dave. Doug Gilbert goes against Tojo Jackson. Either that or there's a new Gilbert brother I don't know anything about. Eli the Eliminator then will be in the next single match going against Curtis Thompson, the U.S. male. Then it'll be Cody Michaels going against Uptown Bruno. That one should be interesting right there. Yeah, Cody gets Bruno in the ring. Yeah, you'll want to see that one, I guarantee you. World Light Heavyweight title match coming up. You know a little bit about this El Grande Pistolero.
We'll get a chance to see a little feature on him. He is the Mexican Light Heavyweight champion and will be coming to Memphis Monday night to challenge the Nightmare Danny Davis, who, of course, is the USWA's World Lightweight champion. This should be quite a match.
Should be. All right, so the light heavyweight belt will be on the line, the world belt, Monday night at the Coliseum. Then comes an interesting match. We'll find out more about this one a little bit later on, too. The superstar Bill Dundee blames Dirty White Boy for the troubles that he has been having, or many of the troubles he's been having with Jamie Dundee, or JC Ice Baby, as he likes to be known right now. And they will be going against each other, and JC will be at ringside, locked in a penalty box. So that one is going to have some interesting things, too, there, as the penalty box will be at ringside, and JC will be locked inside it. Then, following that, well, it's not going to be a tournament anymore because there are only two people, so it's just going to be a match. Stunning Steve Austin. He's big, he's tough. He was the 1990 Rookie of the Year, and he is going to be going against the King, Jerry Lawler, and the winner will get that shot at the world title.
And that's got to be the number 4 contender against the number 1 or number 2 contender. Head-to-head for that one.
It's good. And the winner gets the shot at Terry Funk in the world title, something that Jerry Lawler had, and he wants back, something that Steve Austin feels like already he is ready to take a shot at. Then, following that, it's going to be that big grudge match, and let's make sure we get all of this one right. Jeff Jarrett and Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert together as partners. Eddie Gilbert says, you want a partner? You got it. Eddie Gilbert and Jeff Jarrett are teamed. Jerry Lawler will be in the corner to keep his eye on Tojo Yamamoto. Across the way, it'll be the Texas bunch going against these Tennesseans. The Texas bunch, of course, flamboyant Eric Embry and Dr. Tom Prichard.
All right, so there you have the card for Monday night. And what I find interesting, and again, I think it's kind of a testament to the booking that we're doing right now, is I think in the future, and maybe at times in the past, we might have just arbitrarily just announced, well, Steve Austin and Jerry Lawler are going to face each other for a shot at the title next week, and just went ahead and threw that tag team match together, even though at that point, Eddie and Jeff really hadn't had any reason to decide to team up together. But making it the 4 contenders for the title, because Jeff and Austin is who the Southern title was held up between. Lawler and Gilbert were the 2 people Funk was trying to avoid wrestling with the bounty that we had when we first started watching 1991. It made sense as a concept to have 4 guys squaring off to challenge for the title. But then for everything to play out the way it did, now it makes sense for Lawler and Austin to wrestle each other one-on-one for a title shot. Now it makes sense for Eddie and Jeff to be tagged up against the Texas guys, and it puts even more heat on that match. But see, since Lawler and Eddie got beat last week, it'd been kind of hard to shoehorn Jeff into that all of a sudden, because Jeff's been the one feuding with Austin over the title. So I don't know, just to make this card make sense, I thought all that stuff they did on TV was really smart way to make this card make sense, to put more heat on all of it. Or am I just overthinking all that?
No, I mean, the dots are connecting, and it's like the attention to details being paid. You know, and maybe it's because, you know, Eric just got here. He's trying to really prove a point, you know, that he can do this or whatever. Because I'm sure he had people, you know, the naysayers and stuff. You know, but either way, I think he's really trying to really piece every little thing together, because I know when I was a kid, like, I would watch for shit like that. I was really conscious. And, you know, we talked about in 93 where the consensus seemed to be, they don't give a shit. They don't remember nothing, you know, but that's not the case. There's some thoughtful booking going on here.
Yeah, like to this day, like my wife says, you know, like I take the fun out of like horror movies and stuff like that, because I overthink things and analyze it like that. Like, well, why would this be happening? That doesn't make sense. And so I was like that even as a kid. So when I notice things like that, I don't know, it just strikes the chord with me. And like, hey man, they're really tying together all the loose ends. They're making this all make sense. And something else I was thinking about while I was watching this is, you know, up to now in the most recent years, you know, Jarrett and Lawler obviously book. Eddie Gilbert had a couple of stints booking. Dundee did some booking. But all four of those guys, even if you take Jarrett and Lawler out of the equation, Dundee and Gilbert's been around the Memphis product. Eddie grew up on it. Dundee's been around it for, you know, 20 years at this point or whatever, 15. So it's still going to be a Memphis style booking. They're very heavily influenced by that Memphis style of booking, where Embry, not necessarily. I mean, yeah, he grew up in Kentucky. He was aware of some of it, but still he's been off in Texas and been all around. So to me, it is cool that you got somebody fresh who's not heavily influenced by that Memphis style of booking, who's bringing something different to the table. And it feels like you feel like this is different than what you've been watching for the last few years, which to me makes it a lot more interesting and a lot more fun.
Well, we know, you know, the other season we did, there's a lot of holes in it. And then with Richard being backstage, and then I had some other friends that worked during the time Richard was there, everyone that worked would tell you that, you know, everything was put together 5 minutes before the show started taping. And so this feels so much different. And you guys might be right with you think a guy that takes over as booker wants to impress everyone. And I think that's kind of what this going on here is, that he is trying to dot all the I's as a booker. Now, if he continues to do this, I want to see the criticism of Eric, and maybe the criticism is he pushed himself so much all the time. But during this period of time, if you go back, you kind of have to push those guys, because those guys aren't going to the WWE. So, you know, Eric's probably not going to end up in the WWE. Dr. Tom still has a chance, but Eric's probably not. So that's kind of, and he, to me, is just, I mean, I said this the last couple of weeks, he's like the shittiest heel ever. I mean, him talking and the way he just, you know, always has to have someone with him to beat somebody up. It's like, you just gotta hate this guy. So I love the booking so far.
I can't remember. I've watched a couple of interviews with Embry recently. One of them, he was on the Briscoe and Bradshaw podcast. And then I watched a shoot interview with him. And I don't remember which one it was, but he specifically said in one of them, not necessarily of the Memphis end, but when Jarrett first made him booker of Dallas USWA, that Jarrett specifically told him, you have to push yourself. You have to make yourself the star because we know you're going to be here. And if that's true, if that's what he was told, then by God, he took it to heart, and he did it in Dallas. He did it in Memphis. I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to say the guy's lying. I'm sure to some degree, Jerry Jarrett, especially for down in Texas, because Jarrett wasn't going to be down there, and he had to have somebody he could trust that was going to stick around. But again, after years of Dallas being centered around guys like the Von Erichs, then you got this dumpy little bleach blonde dude that's suddenly the main star of the entire promotion. It was definitely a lot different than what fans were used to, especially when it wasn't just any random dumpy blonde-headed guy. It was one they had hated for years and years prior to this. So it's a bold choice, but so far he's making it work.
To be fair, the Eric that was loved in Dallas, he was a lot more slim than this one. And he had the beard going and the mullet. Like, dude, you watch the clips, man. Whenever him and Percy are together, he comes to the ring, at least 3 women will grab him and kiss him right on the mouth.
Good God.
Or on the cheek. Like,
you go back and watch that stuff. He got himself over. I mean,
it was good shit, man. Good shit.
And to be fair, he wasn't as dumpy as he was here, but he still wasn't a Von Erich. He wasn't a Chris Adams or Kerry Kevin Von Erich. But by now he's in like Adrian Adonis territory. It's tough. But anyway, so let's talk about this week's show and lead with our first question that we always do. What was your least favorite part of this week's episode?
I mean, again, so just like last week, I feel like I'm nitpicking. I'm really grasping at some small shit, but I guess it would have to be. And I don't think that it really would make sense to get falls in this, but like I didn't like the non-decisions of the first 2 matches, but again, it has to be that way, I think, because of the chaos and everything going on. And you got to get pissed off at Embry and Prichard for ruining this shit. But at the same time, I mean, I like to see pinfall. At least one of them maybe could have got – TD Steele could have got pinned. Then they come out there and destroy Gilbert. But either way, I understand it, and I feel stupid for saying that. But, I mean, that's the only thing that I remotely even thought was just a little wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you got to mess up, on that 6-man. That was the only thing. The only thing, fighting over Gaylord, I made a note who would fight over Gaylord, but that was kind of the only thing I said. And, even though we had fun with the coach, and like Josh said, been nitpicky, really. We had fun with the Oxford coaches. I'm so tired of that stuff. I think it's from the other season that we did. And when I was a kid, I don't think I noticed this as much. Jerry doing the promo for the matches, and then Jerry maybe doing another promo for the matches, and then Jerry doing a promo for appearances. I don't think I really remembered it like that, but it just I groan when he comes out with somebody different, I'm like,
even as a kid, I found it fun. I can remember laughing at like when he's just out there shouting and just, and Monday night at the Gilbert, you gotta get ready. I want to kill you. And hey, me and these guys are gonna be playing softball this afternoon. And he just switches gears completely. And then sometimes he'd bring it back around at the end. It's funny, but yeah, I totally get that. It kind of takes you out of some of it. For me, as far as least favorite thing, I could forgive the first 2 run-ins because to me they were essential to the story, and it set up the tag match. That's fine. That's to me, they made more sense than the arbitrary run-ins we got week in and week out in '93, where it's just like, whoever they're wrestling on Monday night is going to run in before this match is over. And it's probably going to be after they've already wrestled for 6 minutes. You're ready to be over anyway. But I feel like having had the first 2 run in, even though we did get a pinfall on Keith Eric, we didn't need Jeff Gaylord to run in on Bill at the end of that. There's enough heat between Bill and Jamie. You didn't have to have Gaylord run in on Bill to establish that, I think, or at least do it after the break during a promo or something. And then, of course, like BT mentioned, then you get the second fall gets botched, and so you really only saw 2 matches that had any significant ending to them. But overall, it's a good show. So I'm interested to hear, what is you guys' most favorite part of this show?
I like how intense, and it was pretty thick last week, but I like how they are pushing and pushing and pushing harder and harder with the Texas versus Tennessee thing. And, like I said, and like you just said, it was essential. The first 2 run-ins was essential, because by that point, I am so pissed off at Eric Embry and Tom Prichard, because this is the second week that I can remember that they're just ruining everything. So, it got us the unholy, the alliance you thought you'd never see. And they're still kind of continuing that thing where Lawler's going to be the second on the tag match and stuff. But yeah, usually whenever you try to extend the good stuff, you kind of like, it seems like in the past where it'll be, they're trying too hard and it's not as intense, it's not as edgy, but this still feels just as sharp as it did last week. And I love the direction it's going.
I love the stuff with Gilbert, Jarrett trying to get a partner, the whole booking of, we have a tournament, like we said, if this was the other season, they just throw those matches up, but there's a reason for it. And I'm really big fan of the booking right now, but my favorite part would have to be when Jarrett and Eddie and Lawler were all on the screen there talking and going back and forth, and that whole booking of Texas versus Tennessee. So now we got Jarrett and Eddie as tag team partners, and then Lawler's in the tournament against Steve Austin. So it all made sense, and I love that stuff. So
I agree. We saw a lot of promos in '93 from Jarrett, and his part of that promo really stood out to me when he, right after he got attacked, and he goes over there and he's pissed off and he takes himself out of the tournament and all that. I thought that was some of the best stuff we've seen out of Jarrett, believable. And I mean, if he didn't have them ugly tights on that Brian mentioned, it might be a little easier to take him a little more serious, but nonetheless, just really good stuff. And based on all of that, would you guys buy a ticket to see Monday night's card?
Yes, absolutely. Because I feel like it's a sure win this week for Team Tennessee, because Lawler is going to be out there just in the corner to make sure that Tojo, or, God forbid, another Texan show up and try to lend a hand or whatever. So I feel like as many losses as the Team Tennessee has got so far, it seems like we got to win at something, something. But we'll see. I don't know. And I'm excited to see if Lawler or Austin's going to get the shot at Terry Funk.
I love the idea that they are putting over the heels, because, as you know, when you get something like this going on, sometimes the established people, the baby faces, will start believing it's a shoot, and they won't let the heels get over enough, and they're letting the heels get over enough now. So eventually we gotta have a payoff, but now I'm okay with them letting the heels get over.
And I think that's why we need a heel booker sometimes, because I think sometimes when, say, Lawler's in charge, that he may lose one and the heels may get a little heat, but I don't know if he always lets them build up as much heat as they really need to, like what's happening right now. But let's take a look. You guys are both going to buy a ticket. I'm going to buy one to go with you. We'll all sit together.
Oh,
and
yeah,
see
I'm
what
going.
happens. So
I'm going, buddy.
Let's see what we're watching here. March the 4th, 1991, Mid-South Coliseum. Unfortunately, we don't have any gate numbers whatsoever. Opening match, JoJo Jackson beat Doug Gilbert. So Not looking good for Doug here. He has slid way down the card. We're in the opening match losing to Jojo freaking Jackson. I don't know what that's about, but he wasn't on TV Saturday, so maybe that was related to that. Second match, Curtis Thompson pinned Johnny Rotten, which wasn't his scheduled opponent, but he's supposed to be wrestling Eli the Eliminator. I don't remember a lot about Johnny Rotten, but I'm sure he was as good or better than Eli the Eliminator would have been, so we'll take it. Third
Big
match.
Guy, I think he actually trained with him and Sid were together for a while. So
yeah, they were somehow tied. That's why they both had the Sex Pistol names. Cody Michaels pinned Uptown Bruno, to the shock of no one. Fourth match, Nightmare Danny Davis went to a double countout with El Grande Pistolero, so he remains the champion. In the fifth match, Superstar Bill Dundee pinned Dirty White Boy Tony Anthony. In the sixth match, Jerry the King Lawler pinned Stunning Steve Austin to become the number one contender at Terry Funk's unified title. And here we go in the main event. The Texas bunch, Eric Embry and Tom Prichard, beat Eddie Gilbert and Jeff Jarrett when Embry pinned Jarrett.
Oh, wow.
So at this point, Embry has pinned Jarrett. He's pinned Gilbert. There's only one guy left for him to pin at some point. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, like we were just talking about, we're stacking the heat on top of heat, which is good. Yep. I like it. That's the only way to make this shit work. If you're going to make this go for any significant amount of time, the heels have got to get their heat. You can't beat them this soon. So I'm really, really excited to see that. I'm excited to see where this goes. And that means, folks, next week, we've got Terry Funk promos coming our way because he's coming to town to wrestle Jerry Lawler. So that's exciting to think about. Big fan of Terry Funk, and especially the shit he always talks about Lawler.
No, I love the promos. Yeah.
Love
so
Terry.
That should be cool. So that wraps up this one. Let's BT, what's shaking over there at stspod.club?
Well, Gene, we had a good episode. Me and you did. We did the WTF news desk on Thursday. It's getting a lot of plays, and we're getting people messages telling us we got good chemistry. And I put this on X, a spoiler. Me and Gene's been doing podcasts since 2007, so and we kind of know each other. Fun episode. Please watch the video of it. It is really fun. We make a couple stabs here and there. That was episode 282, and 283 was this past Saturday. Past Saturday we did Rolling Into Memphis. We reviewed 238. And this coming week, I have a very special episode. And it won't be out when this comes out yet, but it's titled Tramel versus Tramel. And the other Tramel guy's names is 2 M's and 2 L's, so he's not my cousin, but he's a huge wrestling manager in another part of the country that I found on Facebook. So it should be interesting. Don't know much about him, but to find somebody with the same last name and in the wrestling business will be a fun time. So that's coming this week. You want me to talk about P3 Radio? Because you two guys were on P3 Radio.
Both of it.
Yeah, that's right. So I gave it 5 hoots just because Gene was on it.
Holy
and
shit.
Gene is like my best friend. So I had to do that. You guys went 70 minutes. Y'all talked about this being a tab show, but I think you only did 3 fucking tabs.
It was 70 minutes and 40 of it was the David Copperfield bit.
It was at first, I didn't think that my name was ever going to be mentioned again. I didn't think Richard would ever say BT again because we even mentioned the guy from Jonesboro. I kind of feel like I turned into Candyman, like Richard's scared to say my name. But Josh, I loved it that Josh made a point to say P4 Radio. And yes, I already have the website for that. So whenever we get ready, we're going. So Richard sounded like he was down here on his microphone like this, whispering the whole episodes. I don't know what was going on. He said something. He had a really bad day, by the way. And dude, y'all can listen to it to find out what happened to him. He told a little bit about it, but man, that shit sucks. David Copperfield, he's a heel. I just want everybody to know that. And then the guys in the world, the most important people, Josh made a point to make sure everyone knew Jesus was number 1. Elvis was 2, and then David Copperfield. And hey, guys, look, did I ever tell y'all? Got David Copperfield book. Can you believe that?
That is not how David Copperfield looks now.
No, that's one of the coffee table books. Very interesting. He collects stuff from other magic guys. Magic guys. I couldn't say magician. Yeah, magician.
Studio or traveling?
Yeah, there you go. Sam, hey, man, Sam's Club, Josh and I are better than y'all, Richard and Gene, because we have a Sam's Club. And Richard still thinks that they have the ID on the picture. It's not. We had a long-ass story about David Copperfield, over 20 minutes long. Then we talked about somebody at Sam's Club pissing on Spam and Viennese sausages. And, Gene, I got heat with you. You don't like Viennese sausages. How dare you? My dad used to call them puppy Peters. So there you go.
That's what sold you right there. You were hooked.
Oh, I'm stealing that.
Here's a Patreon spoiler. I'll tell you what he called potted meat when we get over there. So there you go. We're talking about dropping big turds at work. I like big turds at work talk. Josh has never been so mad. I love this. You made the statement you'd never been so mad that you would throw shit. I've got to admit, I've probably never been so mad I'd throw shit either. There was the squirrel story was the last story, right? The evil squirrel jumped on a guy and beat up a dog too.
He came back and got the dog.
He came back and got the dog. So yeah, good stuff. 5 out of 5. You guys have. Y'all guys have good chemistry. So Gene was fun. Gene, was you brought in case Richard just couldn't do the show? Is that what was going on?
Yeah, Richard had a rough week, and we had all talked Thursday night, and they asked if I wanted to sit in, and I'd been wanting to for a while. Just Friday nights are hard for me. That's kind of my no podcast night agreement I have with the wife, and I broke that this week. But I can't do it very often. But I had a great time. I'm glad I did it. Been wanting to do it for a while, and yeah, I'm glad it went well, and I think Richard had a good time, and it kind of got him out of his funk a little bit. So I think all of it served its purpose. So I bet there's a guy in Chicago mad enough to throw shit if he could get close enough to us.
I don't know. You know, a guy that will never admit.
He better be near a bathroom because he never shit his pants.
Yeah, he's never shit his pants, which is a fucking lie. So you know, there we go.
He's a liar besides being an asshole. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. I guess that covers everything, right? We plugged everything except make sure to check out. You can join my Patreon, the Retro Wrestling Archive, or BT's, and you can hear the Hot Mics show and some of the stuff you hear us talk about on here. Just imagine what we talk about when we think nobody's listening on Patreon. It's every bit as bad as you think. And also check out for everything related to this podcast, all the social media, merch, all that good stuff, USWApodcast.com for everything associated with Dangerous Conversations with Doug Gilbert and Tommy Rich. Check out DougGilbertPodcast.com. We should have a very interesting show coming up this week, as I intend to talk to them about this surprise trip to Philadelphia they made for AEW. Awesome. And also check out the new book with Wolfie D, A Tale of Two Wolves. It's available now. You can order it on Amazon right this minute, and they will ship it right out to you. No bullshit time wasting from a publisher.
It took me less than 2 days to get mine, and I don't get any payback or anything for me promoting it. But excellent book. What I've been through so far, and being a fan of Wolfie and the whole PG-13, and when he was in TNA and everything, and knowing he had some problems, I guess that's the best way of saying it, in his life, and everyone in the business kind of knew that. But it's good. When you hear somebody just come out and say, "Hey, I did this," I still might do this tomorrow, kind of thing. You kind of have a respect for people like that, knowing that you can screw up at any time, instead of somebody that thinks they don't make any mistakes and everything they do is perfect. So
I had a good time working with Wolfie on that, and it's I don't know, we're both really proud of it. He told his story well. And like I said, I thought I knew a lot about the guy, but I learned a lot, especially the out of the ring stuff from this book. I think you know everybody, even if you're not a huge wrestling fan, it's still an interesting story from his childhood up to his adulthood. So check it out. We'd both really appreciate it. And if you do, take a picture of yourself with it. Just don't hold your mouth open like a goof.
Like this.
And we'll send it to Wolfie, and he'll probably share it on his Facebook or something. So
it looked like a blow up doll.
Yeah, exactly. That's what that looks like. That's exactly what that looks like. There you go. All right, folks, carry that with you throughout the rest of the week, and we'll see you here next week for more.
You have to make a screenshot
Retro
of that.
Wrestling Review USWA podcast.